Corpuz is an engineer and math enthusiast working in the decentralized finance community. As leader of business development for Tidal Financial, Lori and her team have ambitions on being the FDIC for DeFi. Lori's personal vision of the future involves AI learning and the use of data as feedback for improving both our work and personal systems to become better at what we do.
We were in Hawaii and my grandfather gave my father $100 for my birthday. And I remember looking at that and thinking it was like, you know, the proportion when you're like 5 years old is like $1 million. And I was so like, my eyes lit up. I'm like, oh my God, what in the world can we purchase with this, you know? And we had super, super humble beginnings. I mean, my father was a pineapple picker and like his grandfather like escaped martial law in the Philippines. So like, you know, 100 also on his end was like massive, you know, to give to me. So I remember just asking my father like, what are we going to do with this? And he takes me, I think, to the local, like an army base, like shopping center. He ended up purchasing a Nintendo 64 and I think we got 3 games. It was like Mario Kart, Zelda, and you know another game. But my relationship with my father was pretty much you know these video games or biking together. And was an army individual, and he'd be deployed all over the world, constantly working and just not around. And so you know, that was my earliest memory of technology and, you know, its purpose in my life, you know, when I was 5, you know, 4, 5, 6, was really just, you know, to bond with my father.
Lowkey giant.
Yeah, I think video games kept me really connected to the computer, to the internet. You know, AOL was something I was really on. You know, when my mother grounded me, she'd disconnect my internet. She'd take away my Ethernet cable, but I'd have my PSP that I'd connect to the Wi-Fi, and I'd do this underground. She'd have no idea. So it's subverting, you know, authority, you know, from I think this would be a stretch, but like decentralized capacity, like, you know, central authority pulls my access. Well, I found a way to circumvent like that authority. I was still able to communicate with my friends and, you know, what have you. But those were like middle school, high school days. I mean, I was always really connected to technology. I ended up being an engineer, you know, management engineer, but math was really what drove me. And I think the moment in my high school career where I really understood the value of, you know, data and technology was, you know, I ran varsity high school and cross country, but high school, it was just my first entry point into crazy competition and, you know, being number 1, you know, joining varsity. And every single day I'd come to, after practice, I'd come to my room and in a little notepad, like a digital notepad, I'd write all the variables, like what day it was, you know, where we ran, how far we ran, who I ran with, who I ran behind, how fast it was, how long I ran. And then I would rank myself, like I'd rate myself. How did I judge myself on how I did, right? So, that sort of like was a natural way of teaching myself like how data can help you iterate your models and get better, and just general feedback loops. And you know, the gap in that model was that I didn't really understand rest, so I did end up getting injured and having to change, you know, pathways. But I think that those years really imprinted that sort of base layer principle in my life, which I, you know, still keep today, which is just, you know, everything you do, everything that we do, is data aggregation. And if we learn from that data, we can update our models and be better at what we do. And so, technology just facilitates that on a grand scale. So my career, started in technology, and it really has just been finance and tech the whole way. While I was working at JP Morgan on the side, I just grinded supporting what I really loved, which was like creating an environment where ambitious individuals with ideas could come together, share them, and we could all learn together, grow together, and also connect, because that's a human basic need. Through the TED community, I learned about crypto when I went to a TED conference. Don Tapscott spoke. So he spoke on blockchain. And when I was at that conference and you're surrounded by entrepreneurs who are passionate about what they do and have the highest conviction that it's their life purpose, and then you sort of like compare that against like being a cog in the machine, that really influenced me to jump.
Lowkey giant.
Initially, I actually just took a sabbatical. I was going to go in the law direction, so it's volunteering in San Francisco, Sustainable Economies Law Center. And what I learned volunteering with that while still learning about, legal, and then like still tinkering around in the background with blockchain, I realized blockchain was, a cooperative model that scaled, facilitated through technology. So really, at the most ideological level, it's a technology that facilitates communities to convene, transact, come together in whatever rules that they set to do together. Yeah, after I, really made conviction on crypto, I joined a $40 million fund out of Santa Monica doing supporting venture investments. They grew their ambitions to be an investment bank, because in that type of model, it's very clear, how people are getting paid. Did investment banking for some time with that in crypto, where we'd fundraise for clients, raising 30 million plus in Asia, New York, LA. And so this was during the 2017-2018 hype. Shortly after that, I was just doing capital raising in San Francisco, just supporting startups fundraise. And then, COVID hit, organized, a compound investor of investors and entrepreneurs, and joined a crypto hedge fund. And now I'm solving DeFi insurance. And so how that circles back to, me as someone who's a math person, well, insurance is a very, very math-heavy, problem to solve. And so I work at this company called Tidal Financial, and I'm doing business development. So I'm the lead of business development. And effectively what our ambitions are to be the FDIC of DeFi. And so if you're aware of decentralized finance, it's sort of, new automated models of what the traditional finance space has been doing. So when I started at JP Morgan, a lot of the business was product owners or portfolio managers that would take a fee just to rebalance funds, indices, things like that. And new products in DeFi are actually automating this and incentivizing everyone else to be the product or the portfolio manager and, the investors. And so this space is effectively disrupting what, the traditional finance space is. However, with these new products, right, it's attracting a lot of, people investing, a lot of eyes, and, there's a lot of hackers that are coming in because this new technology is being deployed, humans are involved, right? Like you can't solve for every single bug that exists because, you just have to see it in the real world. And so, in the month of May, up to $300 million was hacked in DeFi. And so all DeFi protocols, 12% have been hacked. Of those 12%, 25 of their total value locked is pooled and stolen. And that generally is happening for these DeFi protocols that have existed under a year. And, DeFi in and of itself is pretty young also, like just a little over a year. My company is ambition to be the FDIC for DeFi so that we can grow as an industry with, trust of individuals to put their money in these protocols. Your vibe attracts your tribe sort of thing, right? So in that sense, like, I've been in crypto for 4 coming on 5 years. And a lot of these individuals, it's kind of like we went to high school together, or even college together, right? And so now we're starting to work together, and it's almost like it's been its own sort of education trajectory, right? Like the folks that have been in the industry for so long have been able to sort of like have enough use cases, examples of like these companies and learn from it. It feels extremely communal. There's a lot of camaraderie. A lot of the initiative or the culture is to open sharing and learning with each other. And so it feels like, I'm just working and doing business with people I went to high school with.
Lowkey Giant.
There's 2 types of investors: those who are more value driven, so looking for more long-term, looking at fundamentals, and then like speculative, which you could say, algorithmic trading falls in line with that. A lot of that is just effectively gambling and short-term gains. And so DeFi really attracts that mindset, especially considering just like the fast money that's coming in here, the barrier to entry, i.e., it's a pretty intellectual exercise to just know how to trade USDT and get it into USD. Simple things like that, just to protect your ledger or things like that. The community really drives, values of open sharing, truth, technology first, sovereignty, privacy, things like that. I would 100% say, stick with your full-time job and then make it a determination for you to get in the space and, offer yourself as a free intern in the space and doing work on the side, and really push the fact that you want to get into the industry and you want to learn and you have to work hard, right? Because a lot of these companies, they're hiring people with significant experience previously, right? So there's 2 ways to go about it. There's, leveraging your current experience today and just, applying to more institutional crypto companies that can leverage your skills and also just have the bandwidth to teach you crypto. So that would be the easiest way, but the more scrappy way is to, just learn and work and be in it. And, I started my career working for free for 6 months and, it's gotten me pretty far, but, at the end of the day, we're the masters of our destiny. And so the biggest thing is to decide what you want and just go for it. Have as many conversations with as many people as you can. Try to add value, see where you can help, and, learn as much on your own.
Lowkey Giant.
There are specific ecosystems that are tailored to women. There's SheFi, as I understand, and there's Women in Blockchain, and those are sort of like top of funnel communities that bring women together and then also introduce them to new opportunities. So yeah, there's the traditional way, applying to more corporate. There's the scrappy way, working for free. There's the, thriving communities. And then there's the other way, which is just finding women that you admire and just reaching out to them and saying, like, how can I add value to you today? Because I love your mentorship, and I really respect that you are super busy and, your time is valuable. So I'd love to, exchange value in ways. So I'd connect artificial general intelligence to as a major driving force, also to blockchain as sort of like this, the infrastructure of IoT, connectivity, identity, all these things. And so my vision is basically driven by those two technologies, where AGI sort of creates an ecosystem where, technology is effectively automating everything. And, the value that comes from a fully technology-driven world is how do we coordinate people in a way that fulfills their happiness authentically, but also gives them something to do and that sort of thing. And when I say artificial general intelligence, I sort of mean computers that can learn on their own and learn how to delegate work, how to generate policies between countries and design universal basic income and inspire creativity and all of these things. And so I see it sort of I describe it as like a technology renaissance, where basically everyone's sort of in their zone of genius and flow. They've been able to have the space to reflect, self-actualize, go into the creative activities that really drive them, that they get lost in, and that, by nature, they're serving their communities through their work. And, I've looked at a lot of the most successful people in my life, and every time they describe purpose, it always whittles down to one key thing, which is serving their community. I think blockchain and AGI will be supportive of that. Blockchain just more from a, technology disrupting how we make agreements, right? It goes back to what I said earlier. It's a cooperative model that scales. So you can decide for yourself, like, which communities do I want to be a part of and at what scale.
Lowkey giant. Lowkey giant.